Chapter 23. Cara. Cara fidgeted in her seat as the reporter, Melissa Beale, prepared everything for her interview. After hearing what she had to talk about, they had agreed to record the interview immediately and get it out on the next news show. Something Cara was immensely grateful for. In hindsight, she probably should have done this sooner, but she'd been hoping to avoid a citywide panic. Now she just hoped she could keep her composure in check. The sight of the lights and cameras was sending her heart into a thumping frenzy. Her eyes slid to Cole, who stood off to the side. She was glad he was there for moral support, but her head was still reeling from that almost kiss. What had that been about? Was he developing feelings for her, or was that just a reaction to her stress? And if he was developing feelings for her, what did that mean? There was no denying she found him attractive, nor could she deny that her heart sped up a little every time he came close to her. But could she open her heart again? He certainly seemed different from her ex, but didn't they always? "Miss Hunter, are you ready?" Melissa asked. Cara turned her attention back to the petite, perky woman with the perfect smile. She supposed a near-perfect appearance was a requirement to be on television. She just hoped she didn't look too frumpy beside her. "Yes, of course." "Wonderful. I'll do the opening. You just need to smile and wait for the questions." Cara nodded. Smile and wait. She could do that. Hopefully, her smile looked more natural than it felt. There was an audible countdown, followed by a moment of silence, and then Melissa's face broke into a wide smile. "Hello, and welcome to a special segment of ANC News. I'm Melissa Beale, and I'm joined today by Cara Hunter, who owns one of the local bed and breakfasts in our area. Thank you for coming on today, Cara." When she paused and lifted an eyebrow, Cara knew that was her cue to speak. "Thank you for having me, Melissa. Now, I'm sure all of the people in Fire Beach would love to hear about your bed and breakfast, but that's not why you're here today, is it?" Another lift of the eyebrow. "No, it's not. In addition to the bed and breakfast, I am also a medical researcher. It has been brought to our attention that someone has released a virus in our city." Cara swallowed hard and shifted in her seat. "And you have information on where this virus was released?" Cara nodded. "That is correct. I have been working with the Special Investigations Unit, and we were able to determine that the virus was released into the community pool a few days ago and yesterday at the church garden. We are asking anyone who went swimming this week or who might have touched the food or soil in the garden to go into Fire Beach Hospital and get tested. This virus is very dangerous if left untreated." "And what are the symptoms of this virus?" Melissa asked. "Unfortunately, many, but the main ones are fever and pain. If you feel like you might have the flu, it is especially important that you get to the hospital immediately." "This sounds serious. How scared should we be about this spreading from person to person?" Cara shook her head. "It doesn't generally transmit that way, thankfully. This disease spreads through soil, air, and water. We don't believe any of the virus was released into the air, but we aren't sure if there might be other places it was released. The most important thing is to get tested if you were at the pool or the garden, and to monitor yourself and others for any flu-like symptoms." "Well, you've given us a lot to think about," Melissa said. "Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge with us." "Thank you." Unsure what else to say, Cara glanced over at Cole. He shot her a thumbs-up sign, making her smile slightly as Melissa wrapped up the interview. Before she knew it, the red lights of the camera had turned off, and someone from the show was unclipping her microphone. Melissa turned to her as she unclipped her own microphone. Her smile had faded, and her expression was somber. "How serious is this, Cara?" "If people don't get treatment, it's very serious. Even with treatment, the morbidity rate is high. I'm on my way home to see if I can come up with a working vaccine, but the best thing to do would be to hope and pray that the person who started the spread didn't put it anywhere else." As soon as the words came out of her mouth, Cara paused. She couldn't remember the last time she prayed, yet here she was telling a near stranger to do just that. Perhaps the saying that there were no atheists in foxholes was true. It was hard not to believe in God when you were faced with your own mortality. She shook hands with Melissa, promising to return if she had any new developments, before walking over to where Cole stood, patiently waiting on the side. "You did great out there. Looked very calm and professional." "Thank you. I was nervous as all get out, though." She took a deep breath and sighed. "Guess it's time to head back to the B&B and put my nose to the grindstone again." Cole grinned and offered a mini bow. "Lead the way." Cara tried to stifle her yawn as they pushed open the door to the outside. It had been a long few days, and the stress was really starting to weigh on her. "Looks like you might need a nap when we get back to the house," Cole said as he opened his door. "There's no time for a nap. If all of those people are sick, I have to find a vaccine that works, or a way to make the cure more effective." This time, she couldn't hold back the yawn that stretched her mouth as she inserted the key. She shot him a small smile. "But maybe I could use a large pot of coffee." Cara's smile remained until she pulled into her parking space. A very official-looking black car with tinted windows sat in front of her B&B. "Are you expecting company?" Cole's hand was already reaching inside his jacket for his gun as he spoke. Cara shook her head. Not unless Malone finally sent someone. She wished she had her gun on her as well, but she had forgotten to strap it back on after her hurried shower this morning. "Stay behind me then," Cole said as he opened his door and stepped out first. Cara stepped out next and made sure to walk toward the front of the car so she would be behind Cole as they made their way to the porch. They didn't make it that far before the doors of the black car opened, and Malone, clad almost entirely in black, stepped out. "Malone, what are you doing here?" She made no move to walk toward her boss, still unsure whether he could be trusted or not. Malone's eyes shifted from her to Cole and back again. "I came to bring the help you requested. I was unaware you had found some." Cara chuckled slightly. "Actually, this is Cole Davenport. He's a criminal investigator from Clarksville. He originally came to arrest me for Steve's murder, but I think I've managed to convince him I had nothing to do with that." "Good. I would have vouched for you as well." Malone stumbled over his words, as if caught off guard by the situation. "Anyway, I've been working on getting some help for you since the first time you called, and I finally succeeded. I'm sure you were aware there were other teams researching other viruses as well." Cara was sure she had heard something along those lines a time or two before she and Steve had been forced to go undercover, but she'd never met any of them. Just like herself, they and their job didn't really exist on paper. "I've heard rumors." Malone nodded as if this was the expected answer. Then he turned and opened the car door. A man in a brown plaid shirt and tweed pants stepped out, followed by a woman with a nose ring and purple hair. The two could not have been more different. Had they been partners? Cara wondered what they could possibly find to talk about. "Meet Anthony and Kat. They recently finished their research, and they have some time to help you with yours. That is, if you have a place they can set up." Cara nodded. "Of course. I believe we have a few open rooms. Come inside." Cole shot her a pointed look, but she shook her head slightly. Even if she didn't trust Malone completely, she didn't think the man would shoot her in the back in broad daylight. Still, it took all her resolve to turn her back on the people behind her and lead the way into the house. Makenna looked up from the front desk as she entered. "Any news?" she asked, her voice fading as the others entered behind Cara. Cara lifted an eyebrow, hoping that Makenna knew she would explain later. "Thank you for watching the desk, Makenna. Can you help me get our guests checked in?" Absolutely." Makenna rolled back her shoulders and smiled brightly at the guests. "How many rooms will we be needing?" She was so convincing as an employee that Cara wondered if she'd ever done undercover operations. "4, if you have them." Cara turned at Malone's voice. 4? It was only him and the 2 researchers, wasn't it? But no, standing beside Malone was Bruce, his bodyguard and driver. Of course, she should have known he would never come without Bruce. She'd often wondered if the man had military clearance, or if he was an outside hire, but she'd never asked him. "Okay, if I can just get a signature from everyone, I'll get your keys," Makenna said. "It will all be going on my card," Malone said, stepping forward, "so I'll cover the cost." "Absolutely, sir." Makenna kept up her professional demeanor, but Cara caught the slight hesitation. She was sure the woman was having a hard time not getting the identity of the other 3 people. Cara would have liked to have it as well, but what could she do? As soon as Malone signed the form, Makenna turned to get the keys. "I'll show everyone to their rooms. Thank you, Makenna." Cara took the keys and led the way to the rooms. She handed each key to the correct person as she showed them their room. "I'd like to grab another cup of coffee, but if you'd like to meet in the living room in half an hour, we can begin working." Everyone nodded their agreement, and Cara made her way to her room. What she really wanted was a nap, but now that Malone was here, she doubted she would be sleeping much at all.